I thought we'd talk about some pretty simple things today, just Club Penguin and Marxism, hand in hand. Karl Marx is one of the most prolific political theorists of recent history. His work laid the basis for some of the most popular and controversial political systems of the last 200 years. However, Marx's ideal society has never even come close to becoming reality. No struggle has resulted in the classless, capitalist-free society that Marx writes about. One society has come closer than any other. A society where one only works when they want or need to, from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. That society is Club Penguin Island, a nation in a power struggle to obtain a Marxist utopia. To preface everything else I'm about to talk about, I'm not an expert on Marxist philosophy or Marxist political theory. I haven't read the dense pages of Das Kapital, and I haven't spent 10 years reading every piece of literature associated with Marx. This is also not a direct endorsement or condemnation of Marxism, capitalism, communism, any ism. Overall, this is kind of just a lighthearted and goofy take on a kid's game. Don't think too much about it, but let's go over some core tenets of Marxism and explain how Club Penguin fulfills almost all of them pretty well. The key concept of Marxism is that of class struggle. Broken into its core elements, every capitalist society is divided into two parts: the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. The proletariat is defined as the working class, while the bourgeoisie is defined more as the middle class or the upper middle class. The bourgeoisie are the people in control of the means of production, effectively giving them control over the proletariat. The struggle between these two classes is probably the most important idea in all of Marxist theory. In Club Penguin, the biggest split of the player base is that of the members and the non-members. Members are most definitely a higher class of penguin on Club Penguin Island. They have access to more things, and they can buy exclusive items. Non-members are the poorer demographic, as they do not pay for the exclusive perks that members pay for. The struggle between the proletariat and the bourgeoisie will be represented in this case by the non-members as the proletariat and the members as the bourgeoisie. Some issues kind of immediately arise in this analogy. You could argue that members don't exactly own the means of production, but in that case, who does own the means of production? There's no super member, no ultra member, no class shown to be higher than members. There's not really any hierarchies in Club Penguin at all, outside of the elite penguin force, who will be relevant later, but there's clearly not a governing body or a social hierarchy outside of members and non-members. Since we never see a location where the items that are in the shops in Club Penguin are produced, that leads us to one of two assumptions. One, everything in Club Penguin is imported from outside nations, which is possible, or two, all of the products in Club Penguin are made in back alley sweatshops. In either case, members are probably getting their hands on products before non-members, as if it's imported, it's most likely going to the highest class first, which would be the members, and if it's created in secrecy, it's probably being created by non-members for members. Regardless, that would mean, in effect, that the members are controlling the means of production, or at least the distribution of products. This makes the members the direct enemy of the non-members, as controlling the means of production makes them the bourgeoisie, and if class struggle is to be believed, there's gonna be some murder on Club Penguin Island, some violent revolution. While the members lay in their lavish igloos with a second story and a backyard, the non-members raised their weapons for violent protest. Through a violent revolution, the non-members planned to wrench control of the means of production from the flippers of the members. This mic is heavy, bro. I might switch hands or something. Another core principle of Marxism is that of collectivism. In a Marxist society, private property is to be abolished, leaving only collective property and personal property. Club Penguin actually has already come quite a long way in achieving this pillar of Marxism. While penguins can own igloos and clothes and puffles, This all falls under the umbrella of personal property, not private property. Specific penguins cannot own land or establish privately owned property outside of just owning an igloo. The largest hurdle in fully achieving this is, again, owning the means of production. Ownership over any capital or over the means of production itself is classified as private property, meaning the members own private property. Just to state it explicitly, Marx does say that the only way he thinks this can be achieved is through some sort of revolution, most likely a violent revolution. So, just saying. This is not a call to action for all the non-members out there, but it's also important that we understand the government under which we're operating on Club Penguin Island. There's no clear governing body, no democracy or dictator that has explicit control over Club Penguin Island. The Elite Penguin Force, or the EPF for short, is the thing that comes the closest to some sort of governing body, but it appears to be a non-governmental organization. The role of the Elite Penguin Force is sometimes kind of unclear. They're clearly there to stop any wrongdoing from Herbert or Klutzy and kind of uphold the commonly held laws and belief systems of the island, but they also help deliver pizzas. So I guess it's really whatever they want to do. Speaking of Herbert and Klutzy, those two seem to occupy most of the EPF's time on Club Penguin. These two were shown to not really live within the civilization of Club Penguin Island, and instead kind of operate out of caves on the outskirts of the island. They don't seem to fit into any specific class or caste system within the island, and instead seem to operate mostly outside of it. While the EPF is completely preoccupied with them, no governing body is really running things on the island. All this leads me to believe that the political system on Club Penguin Island is that of anarchy. No specific penguin seems to have any governing ability over any other penguin, and everyone seems to be on pretty equal footing outside of the social class system. There's a common set of rules and laws that most penguins seem to abide by that's kind of just a mutual understanding between all penguins. This includes things like no cursing, no murder, no violence, no stealing, so on. This means that Club Penguin Island is kind of on a Disney fast pass to Marxist Utopia, as a stateless society is pretty crucial to have a true Marxist society. All that's really left to do is abolish class itself, abolishing the concept of member and non-member as is known, and having everyone be on a more equal footing socially. I feel insane I'm ranting to the camera about Club Penguin and Marxism. We've already discussed things like the means of production, but that doesn't really cover all of the economic policy of Club Penguin Island. The primary currency on the island is that of coins, which are earned by playing minigames and completing tasks. While some of these activities are just fun games and sports like Hydro Hopper or any of the arcade games, others are just straight up jobs like bean counters and the pizza game. Coins are awarded to penguins who do these jobs, especially if these jobs are done well. Coins are used in every single facet of life on Club Penguin Island. They're used to buy clothes, to buy igloos, to buy furniture, to buy puffles, to buy literally anything you could possibly buy. Penguins don't seem to really have designated jobs. There's no like pizza man, there's no coffee guy. It's more penguins working when they want or need to, especially if it's to further or to straight up obtain self-sufficiency. The end goal is for every penguin to achieve a pretty high level of self-sufficiency, because if this were to be achieved, then labor itself would kind of be eradicated. While this might seem pretty unlikely due to the climate and harsh conditions of the island, it's definitely more than possible. We've seen whole cornfields growing on Club Penguin Island, so the process of growing one's own food is not outside of the realm of possibility. Self-sufficiency seems to not have been obtained by most penguins, but a lot of them are definitely working towards it based off what we know. One more chapter to go, and this one's kind of a doozy, so get ready for that, I guess. Many of you may know that Marx famously referred to religion as the opiate of the masses from your reading of Animal Farm in the 9th grade. This concept is a big element of Marxism, as Marx sees religion as a form of indoctrination and distraction for people. He sees it as wholly unnecessary and manipulative, distracting people from the distressing conditions that they live in. People are distracted from the unjust nature of the society around them by happy illusions and false promises of deities. This is all to the benefit of the upper class, or the bourgeoisie, as people are distracted from their own exploitation and are directed towards religion. While there is no obvious religious beliefs held by most penguins, there's a couple strange outliers. The first of these is the dojo. Some penguins have strange abilities like disappearing and controlling the elements, although this can most likely be chalked up to some sort of supernatural ability. We know the penguins on the island are pretty advanced already, if not capable of magic, based off Gary's spy phone that you can use to teleport to any location instantly. If anything, I could explain the dojo as some sort of cult, with the sensei as the cult leader, but that seems kind of unnecessary, as the sensei seems like a pretty cool guy, and I don't want to slander him like that, so let's steer away from that. There's no shrines, no deities, no prayer services going on, so it kind of appears that the dojo is more of a place just to practice a popular card game as opposed to praising God. At least that's what it seems like. Maybe they praise God in the back, and I don't know. Who knows? The other strange outlier is banning and account bans, as penguins who break laws or don't obey the rules can get their account deleted. When an account is deleted, the user can no longer log into that penguin, meaning that penguin is effectively dead or MIA. I could explain banning penguins as like a French Revolution, guillotine, Robespierre thing, where we're chopping off the heads of penguins who can't follow the laws, but that feels a little harsh and bloody for Club Penguin, so I'm gonna go with something else, I think. Let's instead say that penguins who are banned from Club Penguin are put on a little raft of ice and pushed to sea, to some other island where they can float away to. This effectively means the penguin can't return, and they're off to some other island because they've been exiled, so we'll just say banning is exile. Speaking of other islands, we have to assume that other islands do exist because of characters like Herbert and Klutzy, who we know are not native to Club Penguin Island, and Rockhopper, who keeps a travel log of a lot of islands he's visited. These islands produce beings that are intelligent enough to communicate at the same level as the penguins of Club Penguin Island, as Herbert is able to do. And if we were going to go with the conclusion that Club Penguin imports most of its products, we have to assume that there's somewhere that they import them from, namely other islands. Marx encourages us to spread the phrase, "Workers of the world unite," as a sort of rallying cry behind Marxism and communism, which is what the penguins may be doing. We don't really know the politics or the international relations that goes on within the universe of Club Penguin, but it seems safe to assume that the penguins have some sort of strong political influence on the world, as no one ever bothers them. Ever. They're pretty isolationist. You know, maybe there are other world superpowers that have dominion over Club Penguin Island, but just maybe, the ideas of the penguins from Club Penguin Island are spreading across the world and creating small factions of revolutionaries on Polar Bear Island and Crab Island and Puffle Island. I don't know. Having gone through the core tenets of Marxism and applying them to Club Penguin, it's pretty clear the penguins of Club Penguin Island are leaning heavily into Marxist theory. They still have a few things left to do to really get there, like overthrowing the members and dismantling class, but they seem to be doing a pretty good job. Maybe Marx is up in heaven, looking down at Club Penguin Island with a foam finger and cheering on the penguins as they violently overthrow the bourgeoisie and revolution. Nonetheless, the penguins of Club Penguin Island have achieved more than any society in human history in terms of reaching the goals of Marxist utopia. The biggest conclusion we can draw is that Club Penguin is clearly trying to indoctrinate your children into Marxism. It's like the Red Scare again, but this time with penguins.